72 coves with unknown mods. Let's see. EE, unique bosses deal more. So EE just means you will run slower, considering that you do damage with all 3 elements. It means you're just doing 50% less damage. So probably not the best map to showcase the damage of this builder. You know, maybe it is. Maybe, you know, it shows that despite, you know, a rather unfavorable mod, the damage is still rather good. I mean, just obliterated a few packs very easily, despite them having pretty substantial damage reduction. As we can see, if you get rares alone with a solid amount of frenzy charges to start, you're gonna just absolutely obliterate them. And that's definitely one really nice aspect of the build, is that if you can scale the damage high enough, and as I've said, I'm sitting at 45k right now with rather suboptimal gear and you know, non-level 20 gems, etc. Only a 5 link, so it could potentially go a lot higher, and you know, not even a very well rolled Oros in the grand scheme of things. So all of these factors combined, I feel, really point to a very strong, fast clearing, you know, well scaling build for maps and for 2.0, you know, starting in general. One thing that I haven't discussed that I would like to point out is that in current beta environment, one of the favorite leveling you know, devices is running Firestorm and Flame Totem, and he's gonna kill me. So he definitely hurts a little bit on bosses, unfortunately. We're in a dual boss of this a little bit earlier, and was able to get by without having to leave, and that recording became corrupted somehow, so that's really unfortunate. I feel like this weakens my argument a bit, but I feel like, you know, it's a fairly viable option, and you know, I think there are definitely, you know, optimizations to be made, not only in gear, potentially in passive choice, you know, gem choices. You know, it could be very wrong on, you know, certain aspects of the build, you know, that I'm currently, you know, relying on in the truck situation. I feel reasonably confident in certain assertions, such as frenzy charges are huge, and that ignite chance is only, you know, useful up to a certain point. Where that point ends, you know, I may be, you know, incorrect about, but 55-60% seems to be, to me, just mathematically about, you know, where you'd stop caring for the most part about ignite chance. And so with all that being said, with what I was talking about with Firestorm, got a little distracted there. Firestorm, Flame Totem. Flame Totem is probably going to be nerfed from, you know, what we've heard when 2.0 launches. But the fact that you're running, you know, a fairly, you know, solid life build with a fair amount of fire damage and elemental damage increase means that leveling this build is really pretty easy. You just plop a Flame Totem, you know, Firestorm a couple times, you know, rinse, repeat. So it definitely means that getting to maps on this build, you know, getting your hands on an Oros is comfortable. It's, you know, not a build that, you know, you are really stretching to, or you're re-speccing a lot. It's just very easy to do with minimal investments on all fronts, and that's something that really appealed to me, was, you know, how easy it is to, you know, slot into this build once you get your hands on an Oros at 67, or, you know, whenever you get your hands on one. So it's obviously more. I left some stragglers here. There's probably like a few packs that I missed, but I mean, that's the majority of the map done. That's the boss down. Happened fairly quickly. It was an EE map, which, you know, means that obviously my damage is a fair amount lower than it would normally be in most instances. And I never really ran out of frenzy charges, and that's really the what's probably going to get you, is running out of frenzy charges and stopping in the middle of a pack. And at 45% ignite chance, it seems to be like you're doing that fairly consistently. So I feel like that's, you know, pretty much everything I really wanted to cover in this build. If you made it this long, it's been almost 45 minutes. Then congratulations. I hope you learned something, or, you know, you brought up some good points and, you know, want to share them with me. What I'm really interested in more than anything is just making this build strong, fairly cheap, but scale well. And I feel like the current iteration of the Shadow Tree is doing that quite well. I'm really looking forward to trying out the Scion after this next wipe and the implementation of 2.0 on live, seeing where that goes. And I feel like ultimately it's going to be a very, you know, viable option for people who are looking to do budget builds that want reasonable scalability and still pretty, you know, reasonably high clear speed. I find with the changes to desync and flicker in general, it's just incredibly enjoyable. I absolutely love playing this build when, you know, it works out well and I have the gear to support it, and I think a lot of people will enjoy it as well. So with that, I will say goodbye. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope you learned something.